Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here and welcome back to a YouTube video on the channel. And today guys, I'm going to be predicting every game of the 2023 AFL season here on Squiggle. Now this is going to be a very controversial video, as I do know, because everybody does have their own opinions, so please don't give me any hate, but feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section. As this is going to be a longer video, we can't waste any time. Going to go ahead, hop right into things. My round one tips will probably be very similar to what I do here, but I still don't really know what my round one tips are just yet. So I'm going to go Richmond to beat Carlton, Geelong to beat Collingwood, and this is going to be a good one. North versus West Coast. I'm going to say North in a thriller. I feel like North will probably have a decent year this year. Brisbane will beat Port, or we'll go smaller margin. Brisbane will beat Port Adelaide though, I reckon, but that's another interesting game. I reckon Melbourne will beat the Western Bulldogs, and the Swans will beat the Suns. I reckon the Crows will get a big win over the Giants, and the Dons will beat the Hawks. And to finish off the round, the Dockers will beat the Saints. So there we go. That's round one. You got the live ladder here. You can check the ladder as games get tipped. I reckon Carlton are going to get a reality check against Geelong. Geelong going to prove that they are one of the best sides in the competition after this win. I think Brisbane will get over Melbourne decently. Collingwood versus Port Adelaide. This is going to be a very good game. I reckon this could potentially be a draw, but first draw of the year. I don't think it'll come this early. Crows, Tigers. Crows always seem to get it done against the Tigers, so yeah, going to tip that. Dogs will get over the Saints at Marvel. Dockers will get over North Melbourne, and the Swans will give the Hawks a big thumping loss. And this is going to be a good game. Bombers versus Suns. Do the Suns... I reckon the Suns could win this game. Yeah, I'm going to say, at Marvel, I'm going to have to say the Bombers, though. I think Bombers will be too good. West Coast versus GWS. West Coast. Right, round three. Dogs versus Lions. Upset. Going the Dogs at Marvel. Dogs are good at Marvel. And I'm going to say the Tigers get a big win over the Pies. And the Hawks will beat North Melbourne. Carlton will beat the Giants. St Kilda's 150th anniversary game. They'll beat the Bombers. Pretty comfortably as well. Showdown. Oh, this is going to be a good game. Port Adelaide versus Adelaide. Going to say the Power just to get it done in the first showdown. Gold Coast versus Geelong. I'm going to say the Cats. They'll get a pretty comfortable win here. Melbourne versus Sydney. Oh, this is going to be a good game. Melbourne are 1-1. Sydney are 2-0. I reckon Sydney can get the upset here. They always seem to do it at the MCG. I reckon they'll beat Melbourne. And Melbourne will go 1-2 to start off the year. Wow. What an interesting start. Brisbane will get over Collingwood, and the new Good Friday game, North Melbourne versus Carlton. Carlton will get over pretty comfortably. I reckon the Crows can beat the Dockers. Upset time again. At the Adelaide Oval this year, the Crows are going to be a good side, I reckon. They're going to be a great side this year at the Adelaide Oval. St Kilda versus Gold Coast. Ooh, this is going to be a good game. I first was leaning Gold Coast, but I feel like at Marvel, the Saints aren't actually too bad there. Gold Coast start their season 0-4. Sydney and Port Adelaide, the SCG. I'm going to say Sydney pretty comfortably. The Bombers will get over the Giants. The D's will get over West Coast pretty comfortably. Now, Easter Monday game at the MCG between the Cats and the Hawks. Now, I feel like this is really anybody's game. It's always so interesting. The Hawks could win. The Cats could win by a lot or win by not too much. So I'm just going to sit at about 25 points. I just feel like that's probably the safest place to sit. Adelaide and Carlton. Carlton cannot win at the Adelaide Oval, so the Crows will win. They go 4-1. Dockers will beat the Suns. Tigers will beat the Swans. Brisbane will beat North Melbourne pretty comfortably. Melbourne will beat the Bombers by a little bit more. Port Adelaide will beat the Western Bulldogs. Dogs are 2-3. Cats will beat West Coast. GWS versus Hawthorn. I'm going to say the Giants to get the job done at Norwood Oval. That's their first win of the year. And the Pies will get it done over the Saints pretty comfortably as well. So round 6 now. Fremantle will get over the Western Bulldogs. Port Adelaide will comfortably get over West Coast. Ooh, Giants, Lions at Manuka. Manuka is a very tough place to predict the margin, so I'm just going to settle at 40 points, I reckon. I think that's probably about right. Grand final rematch, the Cats' first game, Kardinia Park. The Swans are good at Kardinia Park, though. Do keep that in mind. I'm going to say the Cats, though, in a close game. Hawthorn versus Adelaide, going to say the Crows in a close game. Carlton versus St Kilda, going to say the Blues. And the Suns will get their first win of the year at, well, it's not called Metricon anymore, it's called Heritage Bank Stadium. So, going to get their first win at Heritage Bank Stadium for the year. Pretty comfortable one over North Melbourne. I reckon Melbourne will get over the Tigers pretty comfortably as well. Let's have a little look at what we've got so far. Interesting ladder. Collingwood will get over the Bombers. So, that's the end of round 6, and it's interesting. Every team has got a win, and the Cats are the only side that haven't experienced a loss just yet. Port Adelaide will beat the Saints only just. Brisbane will beat the Dockers pretty comfortably. Swans will beat the Giants pretty comfortably. Dogs will beat the Hawks pretty comfortably. Demons will beat North Melbourne pretty comfortably. And the Blues will get over at West Coast by 21 points. Essendon versus Geelong. Cats pretty comfortably. Right, I reckon the Suns will beat the Tigers. Bit of another upset. The Suns, hopefully, everybody hopes they're going to have a good year this year. Everybody wants to see good out of the Gold Coast Suns. I feel like they'll be able to beat the Tigers. We know how bad the Tigers are at Marvel anyway, so going to give that one to the Gold Coast Suns. Collingwood. Now, I reckon Brisbane will go 6-2 here. I reckon they'll lose to the Blues. I reckon the Blues aren't actually going to have a bad start to the year. But I think Brisbane are going to be 6-2. Richmond versus West Coast is going to go Richmond. Geelong versus Adelaide, Geelong. Gold Coast versus Melbourne, Melbourne. Well, closer game. GWS versus the Dogs in a thriller, and the Dockers in a thriller. Hawthorn aren't too bad at Optus. I'm going to give the Dockers a little bit more of a win though, but Hawks aren't too bad at Optus against the Dockers for whatever reason that is. Port Adelaide versus Essendon. The power pretty comfortably. Collingwood versus Sydney. Ooh, this is going to be a good game. Collingwood are outside of the 8, 4 and 3. However, if they win, they will bump themselves back up into the top 8. I think Sydney are going to be able to win this game, though. I think Sydney can genuinely do this at the MCG and beat the Pies. Wow. 6-2 of the Swans. North Melbourne versus St Kilda at Marvel. Going to have to say the Saints. I think they'll win this one pretty comfortably. Get some percentage up as well. Richmond versus Geelong. Cats. I reckon the Tigers... No. Do I go the upset? Let's go the upset. Let's do a bit of an upset, actually. Let's make the... Nah, you know what? I'm going to stick with the Cats. Going to play it safe. Cats 9-0. I'm going to say West Coast upset in the West to beat the Suns. Sydney versus Fremantle. Port Adelaide versus North Melbourne. Port Adelaide should be able to get the job done pretty comfortably. Hawthorn versus Melbourne. Big win there for the Demons. Brisbane versus Essendon. They should be able to win up there pretty comfortably at the Gabba. It's going to be an absolute fortress this year. Blues will get the job done over the Dogs in a close one. And the Crows will get the job done over the Saints in a close one. Collingwood are going to record a big win over the Giants. They're 1-8 now. Port Adelaide and Melbourne will go D's. Got the Swans over the North. We'll go the Dogs over the Crows pretty comfortably. Now, this is where the Cats are going to lose their first game to the Dockers in Perth. The Cats are going to have to lose eventually, and they are now 9-1. Brisbane will get over the Suns. I think they'll actually go back to a bit of a winning way and get over pretty comfortably. Essendon versus Richmond, Dreamtime game. Richmond, Hawthorn versus West Coast. We'll give the Hawks a bit of a win there. Carlton versus Collingwood. Oh, this is going to be a good game. So Collingwood, 5-4 outside the top 8. Carlton, 6-3 just inside, and I reckon the Pies will win a close one. The Saints will win a close one versus the Giants. And now we're going to go into round 11, and we're actually timing this one not too bad as well. Sydney versus Carlton, the SCG. Sydney will win that one pretty comfortably. I think they'll be able to actually give them a real good smashing. Saints and Hawks, the Saints will be able to win that one pretty comfortably. And all of a sudden, they are 5-6 of the Saints. Melbourne and Fremantle. Let's say the D's. Yeah, we'll give that one to the D's. Geelong and GWS. Geelong, big win. Gold Coast will be able to beat the Dogs. They finally get another win. West Coast versus Essendon in Perth. Yeah, gonna have to say West Coast, I reckon. Richmond versus Port Adelaide. Ooh, they're both 6-4 at the MCG. Just gonna have to give it to the Tigers. Do I go the upset? Collingwood are not great at Marvel. Should I give it to North? Nah, we'll give the Pies a extremely close win. They still seem to be winning a lot of their games closely, at least what I've predicted so far. Brisbane will get over the Crows. Melbourne and Carlton. Yeah, Melbourne will win that one. And Carlton are in 9th. They know how to finish in 9th. The Carlton, they're in 9th at the moment, and Port Adelaide will beat the Hawks pretty comfortably at the Adelaide Oval. Collingwood will get over West Coast, and the Cats will get over the Western Bulldogs. Only just. The Dogs are the best team in the competition at Marvel. Gold Coast versus Adelaide. Gold Coast will win. They're 4-8. Richmond will beat the Giants pretty comfortably. And Essendon will beat North Melbourne. North Melbourne are 1-11, but Essendon haven't won in a little while. Need to get a win. They do. Sydney versus St Kilda. Sydney will win pretty comfortably. Ooh, Dogs versus Port. This is a good game. This is a really good game. I'm going to have to say the Western Bulldogs. Just. Brisbane over the Hawks. Crows over West Coast. Ooh, Fremantle versus Richmond. Where are the Dockers? They're in 8th, 7-4. Richmond are 8-4. In Perth, really depends on the conditions. You don't know what the conditions are going to be like. Let's say let's say the Dockers. Let's say the Dockers get the job done. Let's say the Dockers. North Melbourne versus GWS. Yeah, this is a big win for North coming up. Carlton versus Essendon, the MCG. Carlton. Oh, this is going to be a good game. The Queen's birthday clash between Collingwood and Melbourne. I feel like this one is just going to have to go Melbourne's way, even though the Pies are just so good. But I feel like, yeah, Gaundy's going to beat the Pies, and I feel like their ruck problems could give them a bit of a problem in this one, and the D's will go on and win. Port Adelaide versus Geelong, we'll say the Cats. We'll say the Cats in a close one. Brisbane will beat Sydney at the Gabba pretty comfortably. Dockers will win over the Giants. Richmond will beat St Kilda pretty comfortably. Carlton and Gold Coast. Going to have to say Carlton, though. The Dogs will beat North Melbourne pretty comfortably as well. Right, Geelong versus Melbourne. I'm going to say the Cats. Just going to have to. St Kilda versus Brisbane. Brisbane. Sydney versus West Coast. Sydney. Fremantle versus Essendon. Fremantle. Collingwood versus Adelaide. Well, they're not going to win by that much, but they'll get a win. Gold Coast will win by a lot over the Hawks, though. Brisbane will beat the Lions pretty comfortably. Brisbane will beat the Tigers pretty comfortably up at the Gabba. Essendon versus Port Adelaide. Going to have to say Port Adelaide, an absolute thriller. Oh, yes, the Suns will get over the Pies for sure at Metricon this time. Things are getting interesting. Hawthorn and Carlton, I'm going to say the Blues. And finally, the Cats taste defeat again, this time to the Swans at the SCG. Dogs versus Dockers. Going to have to say the Dockers. Adelaide versus North. Adelaide will win that. They're not too far outside the 8 of the Crows at the moment. Melbourne will beat the Giants. West Coast versus St Kilda. I could feel an upset coming on, but I'm going to play it safe and say the Saints. Only just though. Crows will beat the Bombers. Oh, the Dons. This is a game they could win though. I'm just going to stick with the Crows, I reckon. Geelong will beat North Melbourne at Cardinia Park. Giants will beat the Hawks at Sydney Showground. And all of a sudden, North Melbourne are on the bottom of the ladder. Richmond will beat Sydney at the SCG. Things are getting interesting now. St Kilda versus Melbourne, we're going to say the D's. The Dogs will beat the Pies very comfortably at Marvel. Things are getting really interesting. Round 17, and it's really anybody's game for the top 8 at the moment. Port Adelaide will beat the Suns, and they're into the top 8 now. Interesting. Fremantle versus Carlton. It's a big game. Fremantle win, but then Carlton beat Port Adelaide. Collingwood beat Fremantle. They're back into the top. They're back into the top 8 now. The Pies. The Cats will beat the Bombers. The Suns will beat the Saints. They hold their spot above them. Melbourne and Brisbane. I'm going to say the Demons. North and Hawthorn. Going to have to say North Melbourne there. Sydney and the Western Bulldogs. Big win there for the Swans. Adelaide will beat the Giants. In a close game. In a very close game, though. Well, not a very close game. 20 points, I think. The Giants seem to be good at the Adelaide Oval for whatever reason. Richmond beat West Coast pretty comfortably. Brisbane beat Geelong. So, this is really interesting. Carlton will beat West Coast pretty comfortably. The Dogs will beat the Bombers. I think they'll be able to give them a big win. My upset. One of the biggest upsets of the year. Giants beat the Suns at Manuka. That is one of my biggest calls of the year by 5 points. Massive call there, though. Melbourne beat the Crows pretty comfortably. Richmond will get over Hawthorn. St Kilda versus North Melbourne. I'm going to say the Saints. Port Adelaide versus Collingwood. Oh, this is a big game. I'm going to say the Pies just to get the job done. That's going to be a really good game, though. Fremantle versus Sydney. Fremantle in Perth. Things are really getting interesting now. It's really... The top 5 seem to be establishing themselves. Collingwood to beat Carlton again. I reckon Essendon do it against Sydney. I reckon Essendon do get the upset at Marvel. I think that's a big upset. Geelong versus Fremantle. Ooh. Should I? Nah. Geelong will be really good at Cardinia Park this year. Brisbane will beat the Suns, only just. Upset. Hawks to beat the Saints. Richmond versus Melbourne. Melbourne will win that one pretty comfortably. Dogs will smash the Giants. Oh, and all of a sudden they're into 9th. Are the Western Bulldogs. Showdown. Port Adelaide will win, and now they're into 9th. West Coast will beat North at Optus. They've got 4 wins. Essendon will beat West Coast at Marvel. Geelong will beat the Power at Cardinia Park. Swans will beat the Giants. Pies will beat the Hawks. Only just, though. Well, I mean, not only just, but they'll get the win. Melbourne will beat North Melbourne pretty comfortably. I reckon, this is going to be a good game. Saints and Blues. I'm going to say the Blues. Yeah, I reckon the Dogs can beat the Tigers pretty comfortably, though. Adelaide will beat the Suns. Fremantle versus Brisbane. This is a big game. I reckon Brisbane go 16-4. I reckon the Dockers are too good. And I reckon Carlton beat Melbourne. This is throwing a couple of curveballs around now. Throwing a couple of curveballs, throwing a couple of upsets around. Carlton are 13-8 and probably have booked their spot. I'm going to change it to D's actually. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at D's. Brisbane versus Adelaide. Brisbane, that'll probably be like Adelaide's biggest loss of the year to Brisbane at the Gabba. Collingwood versus Geelong. Geelong, I reckon. I reckon we'll go Geelong. Hawthorn versus Western Bulldogs. We'll go the Dogs. And the Dogs are into the top 8. Wow, wow, wow. Wow, wow, wow. I reckon North can beat the Bombers. I reckon North can do that. They can upset the Bombers. St Kilda versus Richmond. St Kilda can definitely beat the Tigers at Marvel. And things are getting really interesting. I reckon the Suns can upset the SCG. So things are getting really interesting now. Swans have got 7 losses and they are still in 4th. Wow. Port Adelaide versus Giants. Port Adelaide will win big. The Dockers will win in Perth against the Eagles. Brisbane will beat the Pies by a lot. The Pies are not good at Marvel. And the Suns will beat the Blues. Yes, they will. GWS versus Essendon. GWS will win. Melbourne versus Hawthorn. Melbourne will win. Richmond versus North. Richmond will win. St Kilda versus Geelong. Geelong. Right. Dogs versus West Coast. Western Bulldogs. And they are into the top 8 are the Western Bulldogs. They are 13-9 into the top 8. Sorry about that, guys. Adelaide and Sydney. Big game at the Adelaide Oval. I reckon the Swans will win, go 15-7, back into the top 4. Dockers will beat Port Adelaide. That's a big win. Only just, though. Round 24. The Dogs have good percentage. Collingwood could get knocked out. Let's see what happens. The Brisbane will beat the Saints. I reckon the Giants. Oh, there we go. That is big. Collingwood. Oh, they're in now. Collingwood will be in. Are Carlton going to get knocked out? Oh, the Cats will win big at Cardinia Park. And that sends the Dogs out. And the Blues are in. Hawthorn versus Fremantle. Going to say the Dockers. And they're going to finish inside the top 4. The Suns and North Melbourne. Do we go the upset? No, we're going to say the Suns. Swans and Demons. Now, this is still a really big game. The Swans will win. And the Swans will not go into the top 4, though. It'll be the D's that go 19-4, Port Adelaide and Richmond. This is still a very, very, very big game. I'm going to say the Power. I'm going to say the Power to do it. And West Coast versus Adelaide. There's not really a lot relying on this game. However, it's just, still going to be interesting to see. I think the Crows will finish on the winning high. And that is my ladder for this year. I've actually finished it in good time as well. I don't think there's any changes. Probably make the Cats lose another game would probably be my only change, which I would do in this ladder, but I still do feel like they'll finish 20-3 and probably be the best side this year. But I'm just going to see if I need to make any changes. Nah, I've decided that I like my ladder the way it is, and that I'm going to go ahead and keep it this way. Now, interestingly enough, we have got a bit of a clear bottom 4 here. Hawthorn 3-20 on the bottom. Hawthorn fans, please don't give me hate, but I feel like this young side could definitely get a couple of upsets, though. But, yeah, I just feel like this is going to be quite toughy for the Hawks. Got the Giants in 17th. Got West Coast in 16th. North in 15th. Essendon in 14th. St Kilda in 13th. Gold Coast in 12th. Adelaide in 11th. Port Adelaide in 10th. Western Bulldogs in 9th. Carlton in 8th. Richmond in 7th. Collingwood in 6th. Sydney in 5th, Fremantle in 4th, Melbourne in 3rd, Brisbane in 2nd, and Geelong in 1st. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with my ladder. It is a bit more of a clear bottom 4. I feel like these teams will probably get more wins, but just with fixtures and all that, I do feel like we do have quite a strong, very strong top, really 12 teams have all recorded 10 or more wins this year, with the 13th getting 8 wins as well. So I feel like that we do have some strong teams, and some teams that just don't compete will probably end up being put to bed quite comfortably this year, which are these bottom 4 teams, and maybe even Essendon as well. And have done this with a couple of upsets as well, so things might not pan out the way that I feel like they will. Finals anyway, though. Geelong versus Fremantle. Geelong will win that. Sydney and Carlton, Sydney. Collingwood and Richmond. Ooh. That's going to be a really good game. I reckon Richmond will get their act together and win. I feel like I've probably put Richmond a bit low from where they might be. I don't know. They'll probably finish better than 13 and 10. Brisbane and Melbourne. Reckon the Lions win at the Gabba. Right, into week 2. And you know what? I've decided I'm going to make a change to my ladder real quick. I've said the Tigers to beat the Cats just because, yeah, the Cats need to get another lose. But it's not going to affect my finals, anything like that. Fremantle will beat Sydney and Perth. Melbourne will beat Richmond. Geelong will beat Melbourne, I reckon. And Brisbane will beat the Dockers. So I reckon the Lions will win this year. I feel like they are the best team in the competition. I feel like the Cats, with the teams they play at Kardinia Park, some teams like GWS, Essendon, North Melbourne, they play really easy sides at Kardinia Park. And sides will get beaten there pretty comfortably. So I feel like that does give Geelong a pretty big advantage percentage-wise. But then I've got Brisbane and Melbourne all finishing 19 and 4. I feel like they are all really good sides. And then I've got, Fremantle, Sydney, Richmond in 6th, Collingwood in 7th. I feel like that's better. That's better, having Richmond in 6th, Collingwood in 7th. I like that one more. Carlton in 8th, Western Bulldogs in 9th, Port Adelaide in 10th, Adelaide in 11th, Gold Coast in 12th, St Kilda 13, Essendon 14, North 15, West Coast 16, GWS 17, and Hawthorn 18. I like this. I think this is how the ladder could actually end up finishing as well. Maybe West Coast and North could be swapped around, but again, though, it's just 0.2%, which is separating them. But I like this. This does replicate my ladder as well. I feel like very similar. But anyway, though, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to let me know what you think. Now, please don't give me any hate, because I know this is a very controversial video. But anyway, though, thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, so then you guys will never miss another video on the channel. Thank you guys all so much. This is Brian Run, Flaming Footy out.